Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode, continuing with the saga of the Pentax 645 and the roll of medium format film. I shot off the rolls, if you watched the last video, in the garden doing some macro using extension tubes, and we've now come to the end of the roll. When the camera gets to number 16 on the frame counter, which as you can see is what this is showing now, if I zoom this in, at 16 it winds the film to the end of the roll. The camera's turned off, so to remove the film you lift up the tab at the back, you turn to unlock it, and you turn it a little bit to release it, and the insert comes out, and as you can see this is the end of the roll. And to remove it, we gently open this end and we just remove it. The big advantage, to be honest, of medium format is there's no rewinding, unlike 35mm where you have to rewind the exposed film back into the cassette. With this one it goes from one reel to the other. You just fold this end over, make sure you're keeping it nice and tight, and then there's always this little bit on the end that says exposed. Put it around the right way so you know the film has been exposed. And then there's usually a bit of sticky on this, which is a bit like postage stamps. You just fold that over, and then you can use this part here to fold it round, just to hold it nice and tight. You just lick the end of it like a postage stamp, and you just fold it over. It tells you what it is, and it also tells you that it's been exposed already. So there's the film removed from the camera. And what I like to do is I use one of these storage boxes, and the film can sit inside there. It's light tight, watertight, etc. So it's just a bit of protection, because these are quite not flimsy, but it's not as secure as a 35mm cassette, which those of you who don't know looks something like that. It's got some felt across here to seal light out. The film is contained inside of it. So there's our exposed film removed from the camera. The final task that we have to do is to remove this one on this side, and we move it over to the top and just make sure it lines up, and then close that part back down, and this is ready for our next roll of fresh film. And then finally you just pop that back in the camera for safekeeping, and then you just push that in, turn and lock. So that's us finished with that. The pen's been unloaded, so there we have our exposed film. This is my sort of test experimental film that has been ruined, to be honest. It's been exposed to the light several times. I'll just show you the structure of the film. This has been exposed, so this is how it would come out of the camera. This is just paper, black on this side. As I unravel it, you will see there's the actual film, and it is literally just held at this end by nothing. It's just sitting in the reel, and then all the film. This is the emulsion side. This is the side that's going to be light sensitive. On the back there's just a plastic coating, and this is quite soft. Normally you can scrape this coating off. This is where the silver halides are, and this is the bit that you're going to develop. Obviously this is ruined because it's been exposed to light. This is, if you like, the analog equivalent of a digital sensor. Is this phone going to focus? So just going along further, this will be the start of the film. It's really just a piece of almost like masking tape that just holds the film to the backing paper. And then this is your starter and your load part. You can see that the paper is printed on the back. There's your start arrows, and then you can see the different sets of numbers. The interesting thing with medium format is that you're not really stuck with one format of film. You can have 645, 6x6, 6x7. Some cameras, there is a Fuji that does 6x8, and some of the really old cameras do 6x9, which is an absolutely massive negative. You can see the different numbers all the way along until you get to the end. On the very end of the film you can see that you've got 8, 12 or 16. 16 is for 645, 12 is for 6x6, and 8 is for 6x9. 6x7 doesn't really have numbers on the back. They always use a different counter on the camera. The very early ways of doing this, before there were film indicators, and I've shown you on some cameras they have a little red window at the back that you open up and that displays the number that's printed on the paper. It can be quite difficult to see. That's usually on the 6x9s and the 6x6s. 645 is quite a newish format. It's not been around as long. So what I need to do now is I need to get the film out of this sort of form that it comes in, and I need to load it into what's called a developing tank, and we'll cover that in the next section. Hey, welcome back. We're now at the next section of this film, so video even. We have our exposed film. What are we going to do with it now? This is a developing tank. I normally use the ubiquitous Patterson tanks. I can show you what one of those looks like in case you're unsure. Developing tanks come in all shapes and sizes. This is what I would normally use, but today we're going to be playing around with rotary processing. This is a Patterson tank. There are various different itinerations of it, but this is a universal tank, so it does quite a lot of different films. But we're not going to be using that one today. We're going to be using this Jobo or Jobo or Hobo tank. This is the tank 4312. On the bottom it has a magnet in this sort of bottom recess. This is a dark tank, so in other words it's light tight when it's closed. So you have a little lid on it like so. The top of it unscrews. You can see this has a light tight baffle. It allows liquids and everything to enter and leave, but it doesn't let in any light. Inside of it we have a couple of spirals. There's a retaining clip. This is a spiral loaded with 35mm film, and you can see that the film is wrapped concentrically, has a gap, so that allows the chemicals to get into the film. Just like a medium format film that I just showed you, we have an emulsion side on this side, and just a plastic backing on the other side. So the next stage is to get our film onto one of these spirals. And a lot of these tanks are universal. You can just unscrew them and they adjust to different sizes of film. So we want to use it with 120, so this is then set up for the 120 film. You can see that will sit in there quite nicely. So either in a darkened room, which is not always practical. I'm actually filming this at midnight because the weather today has been so hot. Trying to get temperatures and everything in some sort of range is ridiculous. So what I'm going to use today is I'm going to use what's called a changing bag. A changing bag is basically a bag, has a couple of arm sockets on it, one each side for each arm. And it's basically a light tight bag. I'll move that out of the way. And what you would do is you put your film and your tank and all the bits that you're going to need, which is going to be that, the film. I don't need that other spiral because I can't get two of those into this tank. And as you'll see at this end it has a double zip, and I'll bring that up. You can see there's a double zipper on it. These are available at most good photographic shops. There's a secondary zip inside as well, so this guarantees that it's light tight. If you're a film photographer, these are worth their weight in gold anyway, and I always sort of carry one around. The reason being, if you have a jam or a problem in the camera, you can open the back up in here and you can sort out what the issue is, whether the film has been teared or torn, any sort of issues you can get in here without letting any light in and ruining your shots. So it's always a good idea, I think, to carry one of these in your gadget bag or in your backpack, just in case if you're a film photographer. Obviously with digital you don't really need this, but they're incredibly useful. So what I'm going to do is put all these different bits inside of this bag, stick my hands in and endeavour to get the film out of this and onto here. The film winds on. You'll see that there is an entry point on the spiral somewhere. I'm not very au fait with these ones. Yeah, there we go. At the top there you'll see there's a notch there and a notch there. You feed the film in and then you can wind the film into the spiral, and then we can follow on from there. So I'll catch up with you in a little bit once I've managed to wrestle the film into the developing tank. Okay, well that didn't go too badly considering that's my first time loading a Jobo tank. They're very similar to the Pattersons with the ratchet system, so it's certainly something worth practicing in the light with a film that you sort of sacrifice, or a film that's already been ruined. Yeah, it's one of those instances that you have to develop the skills through feel through your fingertips, etc. So that's the role of a changing bag, a very useful piece of equipment. So here we see our tank with the film safely ensconced inside. There's a cap there at the top of it, just to make sure. It's a bit of old 35, and this is the backing paper. Not when you really need them, and you always keep these spools. They're always useful. You buy a camera and it doesn't have a spool in it, etc. Right, in the next stage I'll introduce you to the developing equipment. Today I'm quickly going to run through the tools that you need. These are photographic measuring jugs, vessels. You can find these quite readily available, not particularly expensive, on the dreaded eBay. Got a couple of sizes here. On most developing tanks, including this one, it tells you the amount of fluid that you need. So we're doing a 120 film, so we're going to need 250 ml of fluid. So this is another measuring jug, so millilitres, 250, so that's up to there. I use these, but don't use these for measuring. They're not particularly accurate. These are the sort of things you find in the catering section or the catering aisle, the kitchen section of your local supermarket. D76 from Kodak is my preferred developer, but I'm starting to play around with Rodinal. It seems to keep quite well. D76 is a powder, this is a liquid, so it's a lot easier to mix up. And I'm mixing this today, one part of this to 25 of water. So for 250 millilitres I will need 10 millilitres of Rodinal, hence the different sizes of measuring sticks, because this one has got a milliliter mark on it somewhere. Yeah, so I can use that to measure the 10 mil that I need. And I'm doing this all at 20 degrees. Now this machine behind me is the original CPE machine. It's basically a temperature controlled water bath, so it's got some rollers in it and it's got a water bath and a thermometer in there as well, just to monitor the temperature. Thermostatically controlled, but we're doing black and white, which is at 20 degrees. So it's a bit of an overindulgence really, but I want to try rotary processing. With the rotary you can reduce the amount of chemicals you use. Today I'm using 250 ml. A Patterson tank would use 500 ml to do this one film, so it's using half the amount of developer, and I'm using it single shot. I'm throwing the developer away once I've done the film. I'm not going to reuse it or replenish it. So that's the experiment really. and also on a rotary machine you can reduce the development times. It doesn't seem to be any hard and fast rule with that, so I'm going to try 10% and see how that works. I looked up on the Massive Dev chart, which is a wonderful internet tool where you can put in your film and your developer and put in the ISO or ASA that you're shooting at, and it will give you a developing time. And for HP5 at 400 it's 6 minutes, so 6 minutes is 360 seconds, so I've got to take off 36 seconds from that to give me my timing. So I'll mix up the chemicals and then I'll get started. Okay, we're back. I've mixed up my chemicals. I've got my developer here. It looks fairly clear, so I think it's when the developer goes straw coloured, that's when it's probably not a good idea to use it. I also have a process timer set up for my time, which is my 360 seconds minus 36 seconds, etc. So that's set up on this timer. So all I have to do is hit the start button. So what we do is we take this cap off. This is the fun part, this is where it all starts. So we start the clock, pour the chemicals in. This is the developer. This is the first one. Swivel it about a little bit. Remembering it only goes halfway in. We stick it into the machine and then we turn it on. The timer's running. The machine, as you can see, just spins backwards and forwards. So that's doing our agitation for us. So now I can go and make a cup of tea, and I'll come back to you in 5 minutes 24 seconds. Okay, and we're back. We're just coming up to the end of our time. Gently remove that off of there. And we're going to drain this out. Remember, I'm not keeping the developer, so it can be discarded. There's the timer. Okay, the next stage will be a stop bath, but I don't actually use a stop bath, I just use water to give the film a rinse. The idea of a stop bath is it stops the development process, but I find water works just as well. I've used it for like 40 years. Totally up to you what you want to use, if you want to do it with water or if you want to do it the stop bath route. Now this is Fixer, this is Ado Fix. Fixer is reusable, you can reuse Fixer over and over again, it's not a one-shot sort of thing. Swivel that around, put the cap back on, stick this back on here, and I'm going to give that about 5 minutes. I've got a different timer for that one. If at the end of your fixing period you take the film out and you find it's kind of foggy, you can just put it back into the Fixer. This will be safe in the light now once it's been sort of coated in Fixer. After a minute or so it won't be affected by the light. But you can leave it in the Fixer until it goes clear. As the Fixer ages, it will take longer to fix. I've done a few rolls with this film, with this Fixer, sorry, so I'm going to leave it on there for about 5 minutes and then I'll come back to you again. Okay, we've reached the end of our fixing time now, so we can take this off. Now for the moment of truth, before I drain the tank, I always like to have a look and see what we've got. This is the exciting part. Unscrew the top of that, just sit on there. It's wet because it's been sitting in the water bath. Okay, it's not all white and milky, so it's had plenty of time in the Fixer. That's how it sort of should look. I left a bit of tape on at the end. You can see there we do have some negatives. I'll bring that down. You can see there is some negatives on there. So it doesn't need any more fixing. It can go now to the next stage, which is just a simple wash. And really, that's just to get the chemicals off. Give the film a good rinse. So because we're going to reuse this Fixer, we can just pour it back into a measuring jug. I'll use a funnel later to put it back in the storage bottle. put that in there and you can just give that a wash. Oh, here we are, we've just had a wash of the film. You can get things like photo flow, which is like a rinse aid. It helps prevent you get streaks on your film. I just use a drop of washing up liquid. So yeah, this is the moment of truth. You can just unwind the film. Remember, the emulsion side is going to be quite soft. So here we can see we do have some negatives of some plants. There's a couple where the exposures are well out. Don't know why that is, but yeah, they're looking pretty good. So the last thing we have to do with that is to run a squeegee over it. So I've got a squeegee. Your wash water wants to be 20 degrees as well. You don't want to expose film to huge changes in temperature, so we just run a squeegee over it. Do it a couple of times. This is to sort of stop you getting streaks and just remove the excess water. Just gently hold it on there. And then you get some film clips, or you could use clothes pegs. The advantage of these is that one that's weighted and one isn't. So you put the unweighted one at the top, put the weighted one on the bottom, and hang it up somewhere to dry. I use a bathroom, it's a pretty good location. And yeah, you wait for it to dry. And then these are ready now to be used either in an enlarger in a dark room, or for scanning, either with a flatbed scanner or using a DSLR camera, etc. But yeah, it's looking okay. That back looks to be working okay. Not sure what went on with the exposure there. Messed those up, but yeah, they don't look too bad at all.